start this very last session together. So we're going to talk about AI empowering citizens. We're very lucky to have Jacques and Joachim here to talk about their projects and the latest research.
No, it's great. So we're going to have questions right now or afterwards. Okay, so I'll do my talk as well. So let's just get to the presentation. There we go. So I think what I want to do is maybe start with that. So does this work as well? Yeah, maybe this is fine. So I'm, you describe yourself as not necessarily optimist, but not. So I describe myself as more optimistic, but I'm also a realist. So I'm a smart technology entrepreneur, and I built my whole career on artificial intelligence. I did my PhD on recurrent neural nets and AI and stuff, and then started my first AI company. I sold that to General Electric, and I had time to think about next moves afterwards. And I got inspired by visionary leadership in the World Economic Forum and United Nations, and pretty much just looking at what global organizations are doing and some leadership there. And for me, just thinking about next steps is really all about shaping a better future in the smart technology era. How can I actually use AI and technologies to actually shape a better future? Now, I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa, and I'm also concerned about Africa. That Africa can be left behind, and we need Africa to also participate. We can't have that continent that's with all the people there. There's so much promise, so much potential, but there's so much problems and issues. And the question is, how can we use smart technology? How can we use AI? How can I apply even my skills? How can we collaborate with other organizations, with governments, with for-profit or business organizations? How can we work together in solving the problems, the sustainable development goals, etc.? So you will see, I'm not going to talk about that, but my background history is really all about that. So what I've decided for this particular talk, so obviously we're going to talk about empowering citizens, so I'm going to get back to smart cities. So the title of this particular talk is really, just going back to the start, is really about health, water, smart education, smart technology services for African smart cities. We do have the same problem in Africa around, you see a lot of people getting into cities. You see a lot of squatter camps. You deal with, Andrew Funk is going to talk about homelessness. All of those type of things are very relevant, very real. So how do we deal with these type of things? And there are a bunch of other things that I'm also involved in, but one of the things that I've started is, and that's going to be the fourth bullet there, I'm actually going to start with that, and that's about AI community and data platform for Africa. So we want to network together the critical resources in Africa to start working together and interacting with international communities as well, and creating the necessary skills. And not only that, but also to get people together to actually help solve problems. So I'll be talking about that briefly. So that's briefly outlined. So I'm going to start talking about AI community and data platform. I'm also going to touch on health. I know there's a separate track on that, but that's something I'm deeply involved in. And then water. So in Cape Town, we experience, they talked about day zero. That never happened, fortunately, yet. So we can talk about that. But we are actively looking at collaborating with governments, with non-profit organizations, and also businesses. We've got a company called Water Mathematics, where we're looking at a proper holistic solution in getting real-time information around water losses and trying to address this in a proper way. So it's about operationalizing IoT, AI, big data analytics around all of this. So I'll quickly talk about that as well. And then education. I'm also an investor in companies, so I've invested in some educational companies, smart educational companies, so I quickly want to talk about that as well. Okay, so this was just my way of, we're talking about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We know that smart cities is kind of also bringing them together. So on the right hand there, I'll talk about AI community and data platform for Africa. So I've got a few slides talking about the Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa. So that's like pretty much focused on AI, data science. So I've got a few slides on that specifically. But you will see the rest of the goals there. And what I did there was to actually map it to at least 5 of the specific sustainable development goals. Obviously, smart cities as well. The last section of this talk is actually going to be about empowering citizens. So we are going to talk about that. And we can use that maybe as in facilitation of what we're doing here. So that is the detail. So let's get into it. So on this particular slide, I was just showing the 4 tracks and how these particular projects that I've mentioned there, how it actually maps to the 4 tracks as well. So I'll skip that. So the first thing I want to quickly talk about is AI Community and Data Platform for Africa. What's really great about what's happening. So I've started this Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa 2 years ago. You can go to machineintelligenceafrica.org. It's a non-profit. The focus is really transforming Africa through machine intelligence, AI. And obviously I want to leverage my background and experience in creating companies and solving and using AI to actually solve problems. So what is MIIA? MIIA is an innovative community and accelerator for machine intelligence or AI and data science, research and applications. I do have a research background. I think it's also very, very important. It's part of that. But pretty much to help transform Africa. And I'm saying transform Africa, but it could apply to emerging other continents, other areas, other places in the world as well. So this is what we've done. So you can see there's a list of partners. And we had some discussions with the World Bank and Gates Foundation as well. But those are a lot of the companies that's been involved in sponsoring events, hackathons, and just a lot of the gatherings. We've got a bunch of projects that I will quickly talk about as well. That speaks to the Sustainable Development Goals as well. Currently, there's about 2,050 registrations across the MIIA channels as well, so it's growing. There's interest. People from all walks of life and different disciplines, physicists and chemists and actuaries, and people are joining this. So anyway, so that's that. I maybe just want to quickly mention there is some very interesting partners. So obviously IBM, Microsoft, and a bunch of other companies. There's PwC, Deloitte. You will see the Data Science Nigeria. So we're trying to hook up with other organizations in this field. So we're not trying to compete, we're trying to collaborate. It's really all about how can we solve problems. And we've got a good network of people that are very keen to contribute and help. And that just shows the growth path over the last 2 years, effectively. A lot more events, a lot more happening. This is just again showing the collaboration with Data Science Nigeria. And also, I know there's people from Kenya and Rwanda and so for other places in Africa. So that's great to see in other African cities. So we are also trying to communicate with, well, I'm from Cape Town, but Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, etc. So there's all sorts of communications and sharing happening. For instance, last year we participated in the first data science bootcamp. There was about 150 data scientists in that data science Nigeria just when they started. And we had about almost 10 experts from our side just participating via Hangouts to help guide those guys on that side as well. And it's vice versa. So we had actually people there coming to our events as well. So it's really great to see. Then, if I can go to the next slide, there we go. So if you go, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you go to the Machine Intelligence Africa.org website and go to projects, you will see a list of African problems that maps to the Sustainable Development Goals. And the whole idea is to actually submit those projects and then get proper funding and actually start solving it using the community that we've built up. And there's some application projects, research projects, etc. But it's not just us. So we've just recently, one of my companies, well, my key AI company now is Cortex Logic. But there's another company called XPRIZE, and they've started this Zindi, like a Kaggle of Africa. And when we saw that, we said, that's fantastic. We want to actually have a data platform where we can have data competitions, because that's part of what we want to do with MIIA. So if we collaborate here, we can actually accelerate that. So we've been funding that, but I think that would be awesome if there's a proper funding. Also, so we've got some projects around that as well. So The next few slides are just talking a little bit about that, what the platform is all about. So I just want to make people aware of that in Africa, there's people trying, there's visionary leadership and people trying to execute around creating communities, creating the data sets, gathering things, and doing something about the problems. So anyway, so I'll stop there. On the health side, so health is such an important area. You know, the Bill and Melinda Gates School, they spend quite a bit of money in Africa, TB, and there's so many diseases. Even in the Western Cape, that's a big problem right there as well. But what we've seen, there's a great opportunity to create a multi-sided platform environment where we can have producers and consumers, and there's data and there's requests, and we can facilitate all of that. So there's quite a bit of stuff going on with government, with the South African Medical Research Council. We are looking at, I think, Microsoft potentially involved there as well, and other tech players as well. But we are looking at creating a proper environment that you can do precision medicine, for instance. And we're working actually with Professor Musa Mslanga from UCT and also Next Biosciences, and there's a bunch of companies there where we're trying to collaborate and try and see how we work together to operationalize around health as well. And that's with Synergy specifically, and FEMI as one of the parts of the big data analytics stack. It's all about big data governance, privacy by design, all of those type of things, because that needs to be managed in a proper way. So all the electronic health records, all the unstructured data, structured data needs to be managed, so you can actually create kind of an app store around that. So just want to mention that initiative as well. On the waterfront, just briefly, water data analytics platform. So obviously it's very acute, the problems around water, the water losses, and water is becoming such a big issue internationally, obviously everywhere. But the good thing is there are really visionary leadership, and we've got the right individuals that's got, they're basically decades of experience around water and how to do these kind of things. So we're looking at water balances, what's going in, what's going out, aquifers, you're looking at the whole spectrum, all the consumers, and you go all the way down to the detail level, to citizen level, effectively. So there's a lot of information, but there's a lot of gaps. But this is an opportunity also from an IoT perspective to have bottom-up information, to get more reliable information around this as well. So very excited about this project as well. And then the last thing before I get to the smart cities, the smart citizens one. Do I need to point to that? Okay, so, and the last one is around education. So that is a major problem, and it's a big passion of mine as well. We live in a smart technology era. That is, we talk about a fourth industrial revolution. I talk about a smart technology era. And we need to urgently empower the people, the citizens, the people in Africa, specifically, but around the world, to actually be active in this world. In this. So what we've done here, I think firstly you need the infrastructure. So you need access to, so I've listed it there. Everyone should have affordable access to the digital world. That's a big problem in Africa right now. So we need to address that. We need extreme acceleration of 21st century skills. And there's a bunch of other things there that's mentioned as well. Anyway, so I'm actually going to skip some of this. So this is just ideas around smart technology, center of excellence, and all of that. And actually, how do you expand creating this type of thing around Africa? So there we go. So so this is just about my company. I'll just stop there. So we're all about creating an AI engine for platform businesses and corporates. The last bit, and this is going to lead the kind of discussion into empowering citizens as well. So I did mention that because it's all important. All those things, water, health, all of that is very important for citizens as well. So this is from a study from Deloitte where they were talking about basically, if you look at recent smart city trends, it's about empowering citizens on the rise. And I think it's very important to have this focus. And Alexander and Renato, when they thought about the tracks, I thought it was great that you guys thought about this specific, to give this emphasis. What Deloitte is basically saying is that we need to tailor public services to increase resource efficiency. And well, that's kind of a generic way of stating what we need to do. And it was quite interesting. Then on the right-hand side, they're showing where is pretty much what is getting attention, what should get attention, just based on interviews and talking to various smart cities around the world. Governance education, major focus. And that's exactly the case in Africa as well. We talk about even corruption and no transparency. You talk about issues around education is a major problem. In South Africa, it's an absolute major problem. But energy is critical, healthcare, security, all of those are being listed there. And this particular slide, Smart Cities 3.0, is just talking about bringing it all together. It's got to be, to solve these problems, you won't just have a business or just have very specific organizations. It's going to be a complete team effort. It's going to be all the stakeholders, and including the citizens that you want to incentivize. That needs to be part of that. So this is just emphasizing that, engaging citizens to work in collaboration with private corporations and the public sector. And last few slides, just quickly. So this is Frans Albert here. I think he was in the previous discussion. I'm not sure. Where is he? Okay, great. So you must know the Waag Society in Amsterdam. So this was kind of their definition of smart citizens, which I thought was great. So we can obviously, in the panel discussion, talk about this specifically. But I was quite inspired by this because I think there's a lot to learn. It seems like what they're doing there in Amsterdam, I would love to see that we apply this in African cities, in Cape Town, Joburg, Lagos, like Nairobi, etc. But really, it's talking about forming these groups and making it very practical. And where people take responsibility for the places they live and work and love. So anyway, so one can go through that. The slides will be made available. They also talk about this urban feeds data flow, where you've got collecting data, you put in, you're instrumenting. You can't do really anything if you don't instrument properly. So this is where IoT plays an incredible role to measure. You analyze, you distribute, you get that feedback, you look at the behavior, and it's a continuous loop. Even with companies and businesses, when we actually operationalize AI solutions, say for instance you're looking at personalized on-demand services, and you've got all this big data, structured, unstructured data, smart data layers, you automate the AI, you feed this into workflows or into intelligent virtual assistants. That virtual assistant is like a sensor because it provides information. You can do sentiment analysis. That needs to feed back to the data lake so that you can operationalize, improve your models, etc. But you see the same type of thing here. So it's a dynamic system. It's not just a static thing. You need to update and maintain this. And this is just the Amsterdam group talk about smart citizen approach, and that all the M's here, they meet, they match, they map, they make, they master, they measure, and then they mobilize. And what's great, they talk about the lessons learned and so forth. So I think it would be interesting. I don't know, Frans Albert, maybe in the panel discussion we can. I don't know how much you're aware of this, but we can talk about this because this is clearly. I think there's a lot to learn from this. And then finally, what they were advocating here is empowering smart citizens. The old way is kind of the government top-down, the top-down decision-making, as opposed to the new way where we talk about bottom-up decision-making. In the past, it's kind of a linear approach, which is not always scalable. Here we talk about a non-linear approach. Reducing complexity, encouraging complexity, minimizing uncertainty, embracing uncertainty, stifling innovation, and enabling boost in creativity. So, and I think blockchain, I know Andrew Funk is going to talk about that with the homelessness thing as well, but it is obviously very much a part of this as well. So I think on that note, I'll end my presentation, and hopefully this would just help to seed the discussion, the panel discussion.